Good. So we're on page 574. We're holding, actually, I think we went already to page 575. Let's see. Yeah. I think we went to 575 where it says, Be'inyan zeh. Am I right? Yimil Avais Yud Aleph. We're holding where it says, actually, on page 575, Be'inyan zeh. The Rebbe here is discussing the difference between the two levels of Torah. There's the level of Torah in its source, which is called Chamuda Genuza Shegenuza Loch. Torah, the Abish's pleasure, Torah which is hidden Lamaila. And then there's when the Torah comes down Lamata, and the Torah over here applies to life and the realities of our world, where a person has to deal with all kinds of issues, Somera, Asei in our world. And the Rebbe says that you have this in Nigla the Torah. You have the halacha of Torah, which is giving you the direction of Maisa B'Payel, what you got to do. He's learning it by Riches, and it doesn't have any actual practical application. So he's just going into the world of Torah. Nigla the Torah and Pnimiyus HaTorah. In the Zohar, it describes that Nigla the Torah is called what? Ilana the Tovera. Because it's the section of Torah that deals with things where there's a mixture of good and the opposite of good. Whereas in Pnimiyus HaTorah, that's Ilana the Chaya, tree of life. Because Pnimiyus HaTorah talks about where things are perfect, where there's no possibility of that. Okay, let's continue inside. This is the main point, which is the difference between the Torah that we learn today and the Torah that we will have when Moshiach comes. In our time, the holy spark is big, and therefore this is primarily accomplished when you learn the revealed aspect of Torah. Shishi Sidre Mishnah, which starts with the Mishnayos, other places, Rishayim, V'Achrayim, whether it's regarding matters of things that are permitted and forbidden, tumah paying, regarding money matters, or any other mitzvah. Ella, the Rebbe adds, shegam b'shvil avodas habirurim b'nigla d'Torah, even if it's only for this purpose, to learn, in order to have the kayach, to know how to behave in the world, and how to refine and elevate the world, not the main Chiddush of Chassidus Zet of Eman, it's noticeable even when he learns a Blat Gemara that this is somebody that learns Chassidus. You can see the difference. How he via Geitzu, how he when he learns a word in a Rashi, he learns a word in a Taisvis. If you don't learn any Chassidus, so you say to yourself, "No, Rashi sagt das sei, und ich sage ein bisschen anders." Rashi says one way, and I think a little bit differently. Like the famous Vart or joke that people say regarding the Misnagid that was learning the Gemara, and Rashi said something that he didn't agree to. I think the Rebbe may have even mentioned this once. So he said, you have to cut out this Rashi. There's the Rashi and the other. But a person learns Torah, or I think this I actually did see once the Rebbe said by a Fabrengen, a Misnagid learns Torah, and he says to Rashi, so my Neshama came into the world a few generations later, but Batsim, in other words, it's me, Rashi, we're learning understanding. As great as you think it is, as clever as you think you are, has absolutely no ability to really be typhus, to really grasp godliness. Whatever little bit you understand, it's a chesed of Hashem. You can't start sticking in your own opinions and your own term to the godliness in the Torah. So when a person, you'll have the right approach. You'll know that I'm here to fulfill Ratzon Hashem, to do what the Eibishter wants of me. So this is even learning Chassidus for the purpose of Birurim, to be able to accomplish the Avodas HaBirurim properly.
We don't paskin like Rashi.
Well,
and we paskin for somebody that lived 400 or 500 years after Rashi.
Possibly.
Why does Rashi get the bad end of the deal? He wants it that way. 4 or 5 years later, somebody else comes along and pushes him aside.
No. Okay, is the opinion on it like Rashi.
Okay.
But if there's others amongst the Rishonim that argue with Rashi, so then the halacha won't necessarily be like Rashi. But it only has to be an argument amongst that people and the Rishonim, the great holy Rishonim of that generation. That's the cloud. Okay, let's continue. However, what happens when Moshiach comes? When we will be completed with elevating and refining evil, and the good will be separated from each other. We're at the end of the first column. See what I'm saying? End of the first column. To then, and this is a quote from what it says in the Alter Rebbe and Tanya, we will not occupy our time with learning Torah and doing mitzvahs in order to figure out how can I live in the darkness of the world. Everything will be clear. Everything will be open. So what are we learning? More Torah and more mitzvahs to go to another level, to go yet even higher, closer and deeper. And this will all be by learning the deeper parts of Torah, L'kayim mitzvahs, but kavanas of the mitzvah is not going to be the action of the mitzvah, which is the element of the mitzvah that engages with the world. Today, when we do mitzvahs, what's the main component of the mitzvah? The ma'aseh. The kavanah we have, the halacha actually is, we paskin, according to most opinions, there's machlekes about this, but mitzvahs ain't tzrichas kavanah. You yaitza mitzvah even without kavanah. There are certain mitzvahs that require kavanah, certain parts of the mitzvah require kavanah when you say Shema Yisrael, so on. But b'derach klal, mitzvahs ain't tzrichas kavanah, because the main point of the mitzvah is the ma'aseh. Why? Because that's where you're hitting and you're making contact with the physical world. And that's the main Aveda today. Though, the kavanis of the mitzvah will be the main inyan of the mitzvah. The kavanis al yonis yes, very high kavanis. V'akoil al yedei pnimiyus atayra. Again, the kai mitzvah kavanis al yonis. Pnimiyus al mitzvahs v'tameim anistadim. Deeper aspects of the mitzvah and hidden and higher secrets that we will know and feel in the mitzvah we fulfill. Ella, however, the Rebbe adds over here, doesn't mean that when Moshiach comes, all mitzvahs will be bottled. And we won't have to know the details of the mitzvahs. Even lost lavai, we will have to know the details of the halachas, of what's allowed, what's not, what's pure, what's impure. But the details of how to fulfill a mitzvah will be known to everybody. You'll learn it once, and you'll never forget it. So you won't have to constantly learn. Today we learn and we review constantly, and then you keep on forgetting different details, and you constantly have to keep on refreshing your memory and learning. Okay?
Our brain is going to change.
Well, over here what the Rebbe is saying is that it's going to be b'li shikha. So what's the idea of b'li shikha? I don't think it means a change in the brain. It means a change in the revelation of the neshama. It says in other places, what's the source of forgetfulness? It comes from a lack of connection. When your neshama is connected, if Elokus is shining, there's no concept impossible to forget. Source of forgetfulness is not a weakness of the brain; it's disconnected from the source. Right? So the more we'll be connected, then there won't be any shikha. I think in other places it actually says a little bit different than the Rebbe is saying here. I don't remember if the Rebbe brings it in the continuation of this sikha or in another place the Rebbe says that la'asud lavai, we're going to know and understand the details of how you fulfill the mitzvahs begashmius from beruchnis. That is bringing here in the Ha'ara. That's where it is. Right over here. Okay, let's see in Ha'ara 89. It says it over there in Tanya, actually. Okay, let's see. Take a look right now. There later on, the Alter Rebbe says, the Alter Rebbe adds himself. Yeah, v'gam efsher v'kariv adovar, possibly, and it's more closer. In other words, it's logical to say this. Sheyedu mipnimi yisatayra kol gufi atayra aniglis. That we will be learning only Pnimiyus Atayra, and from all the details in Pnimiyus, we'll see the Hamshachas Beruchnius, and we'll understand what that means and how you apply it Begashmius. Kamay Avram Avinu olav shalom. Just like it is by Avram Avinu when he learned Torah. He learned Torah and he understood it the way it is Beruchnius, and therefore from this he understood what it means Begashmius. So not that you're going to learn and never forget. You won't even have to learn all these things Begashmius, because the Gashmius will just be a reflection of the Ruchnius, just like by Avram Avinu. What does it say by Avram Avinu? That really his entire asek of Torah mitzvahs was all Beruchnius. And whatever he did Begashmius, his main focus was not the Gashmius. His main focus was Beruchnius. And whatever he did Begashmius was just as a reflection of where he was Beruchnius. But really he was in the Ruchnius world. Lasad Lavai will be similar to Avram Avinu, where everything is going to be done Beruchnius, and automatically it's going to come down Begashmius as well.
He derived Achnas from Ruchnius.
Correct. That was the main inyan. What was Avram Avinu? It says Avram Avinu was a merkavet midas achesed l'mayla. So much so, I think we had it in Nehemiah, right? About a week ago, that midas achesed said to the Eibishter, I have no place. Avram Avinu is taking my place. Avram Avinu, his inyan was chesed beruchnius. But derech memele, it expressed itself also in his chesed begashmis. But that Avram Avinu was not living in a gashmistic world in that sense, like the way we engage and we interact and we adapt to a gashmistic world and we're present in gashmis. Avram Avinu's gashmis, it's like, for example, a mashal that's brought for this in Chassidus is that a person has a tremendous simcha in his heart. And the simcha is so powerful that it can't be contained in his heart. It comes out in the movements of his hands and his feet, and he begins dancing. So what happens when the person begins dancing? He's not focusing on the movements of his feet or his hands. That's not where he is. He's so happy. He can't contain himself. So it comes out begashmius as well. So to Avram Avinu, his chesed was bursting. He was chesed beruchnius. But derech memele, it comes down into gashmius as well. That's how Avram Avinu did this. But the thing is, though, it doesn't mean, it's Alter Rebbe is comparing it to Avram Avinu, but we will be at the opposite end of it from where Avram Avinu was. Avram Avinu was at the beginning. Avram Avinu was Beruchnius, and he didn't focus on Gashmius because the world wasn't yet a Keli for this breakthrough of Matan Torah, which broke through Al Yanim and Tachtainim to actually bring it down into Gashmius. When it's going to be Lost Lavi, it'll be on the opposite end. Then, after Matan Torah and the Aveda of all the generations, when the connection between Gashmius and Ruchnius is going to flow so perfectly that you won't have to struggle and focus on applying it to the Gashmius separate from the Ruchnius, because the flow and the connection between Ruchnius and Gashmius will be so direct and so easy that Ruchnius will flow straight into the Gashmius. So it's like Avram, but very different, because it's at the completion of the Aveda, when the connection is 100%. Okay, let's go back inside the Sikha. So now bringing this all back to Arei Miklat. The Rebbe pointed out that from where do we learn the Amunah of Moshiach? From the fact that the Torah says that there's a mitzvah of Arei Miklat, which is the cities of refuge for a person that killed somebody accidentally, that there's 3 cities that the Torah says you should separate, and it's something that was never done yet, because it's in these new territories that the Yidden never conquered. And from there, from this mitzvah of Arei Miklat, we learn out the Amunah and Bias HaMashiach from a mitzvah in the Torah. So one of the questions that I've asked before is, why is this the mitzvah chosen to learn out the Amunah and Bias HaMashiach? So the Rebbe here is going to give us a completely deeper understanding what the mitzvah of Arei Miklat represents. Yeshleima, based on what we're saying regarding Torah Lost Lava, we can now say, this is the meaning of the difference between the 6 Arei Miklat that were designated today in our times, which means in the time of the Beis Hamikdash, when before Mashiach comes, then to the 3 cities that we're going to add b'yemais Mashiach when Mashiach comes. What is the mitzvah of Arei Miklat? Mitzvahs ir Miklat, the mitzvah of designating these cities to absorb a person that killed b'shaygik, kshura in tikn chatei tzadas. This is not only literally for a person that killed someone b'shaygik, but it's also the rectifying, fixing the entire issue of Chetei Tzadas, which is what all the Aveda of all the thousands of years is coming to correct. Chet Avei Tzadas is the Chet that all generations are coming to fix, and La'asad Lavai, this will be completely corrected, which will happen through the Arei Miklat. And the Rebbe here brings what it says in the Medrash. Hashayrish kol chalachatoim, Chetei Tzadas, which is the source and the root of all other Avedas that followed. So the Medrash says, why was Adam Rishon expelled from Gan Eden? After he sinned with Eitz Hadas. Because he's the one that brought the existence of death into the world for all future generations. Really, Adam Rishon himself should have died immediately after he ate from the Eitz Hadas, as the Eibishter said, Moistum Atomus. Elo, Sherichamta Olav, the Eibishter had mercy on Adam Rishon, the Gerashtai, and you expelled him, Kederach Haritzech Bishgage, like a person that's a murderer accidentally, Shegailam and Mekayma Elo Arei Miklat. He has to be exiled from the city where he lives, and he has to go to the Ir Miklat, to the city of refuge. So you see here clearly in the Medrash that the whole mitzvah of Ir Miklat is related to Chet Eitz Hadas. After Adam Rishon sinned by Chet Eitz Hadas, he's been expelled from his place where he was living, where he was in Gan Eden, and he has to leave and come into this world.
This world is Arei Miklat.
Sort of, yeah. Okay, but let's see. The Rebbe will explain over here. Prati is not to explain this in more detail. When a person, the idea of Arei Miklat, that is, and Bechlal, the whole idea of a Ritzeach, a murderer, b'shoigig, accidentally, is really related to every single Aveda. Every time a Yid does an Aveda, there's an element of Ritziche that's taking place. As harsh as that sounds, the Rebbe will explain it here, that every Aveda is some form of a murder. Why? Yidua, so it's known, Shekol Chet v'Avoin, anytime a Yid sins, God forbid. Hume'en v'dugmas makin nefesh b'shgage. This is taking away life. You're hitting and removing life accidentally. This is based on the pasuk that it says, Shoifich dam ha'adam be'adam, that you spill blood of the human being. This is in Parshas Noach, where it talks about Ritziche, not to murder another person. So it says about this lashon. See, the pasuk uses this lashon of dam ha'adam be'adam. What does that mean? So simply it means that one human being killed another. But here in Chassidus Taishas, shoifich dam ha'adam be'adam means you spill the blood, which means you draw out. What's blood? Blood is the life of a person, the energy of a person. You draw out, you spill that blood, which is contained in one person, and you bring it be'adam into another. What does that mean? So it says in Chassidus, the pshat is, shu'in shfichas dam v'chayis adam diktusha. You're spilling and you're drawing out the blood or the energy that there is in Adam of Kedusha, in the place of holiness, Adam the Klippe, and you bring it into Adam the Klippe. Every time a Yid does an Aveda, what happens? What is he doing? The Tumah and Klippe doesn't have enough energy of its own to exist. So where it constantly seeks to get energy from a place of Kedusha. Where is the place of Kedusha? A Yid. A Yid has a neshama. That's a place of Kedusha. So therefore the Tumah constantly tries to persuade a Yid to utilize his energy, chas v'shalom, of his neshama as well, to do an Aveda. And when the Yid does an Aveda, so now you're taking that holy energy that you have and you're allowing it to be utilized and spill out and to be taken into the possession and the territory of Klippe. That's what's happening by every Aveda. So every time a Yid, God forbid, does an Aveda, he's spilling the blood of his neshama, of Kedusha, into the blood of Klippe. Ela, but the Rebbe adds, the Torah says, when this happens by a Yid, when a Yid does an Aveda, even if, God forbid, he's doing the Aveda intentionally and knowingly, but nevertheless, the Torah refers to it as b'shegeg, that it's an accident. Why? It's not the true will of a Yid. The true desire of every single Yid, whether he's aware of it or not, is lasis kol mitzvahs or lesrachik min avedas. The lashon of the Rambam, every single Yid's true desire is to fulfill every single mitzvah and to stay far away from any aveda. Ella yitzroi hu shetakfai. It's the Yetzer Hara that overcomes the person, and not only overcomes the person, but makes the person think that this is what I want. Doesn't realize that it's not even his true desire. Kamayainis, literally like a person that happened something that's completely out of his control, which is actually something which is even more than a shaygig. An ainis is something out of your control. And therefore, when a Yid does an Aveda, it's without the person being aware of what's happening. A Yid would not do an Aveda if he would understand what it means, what is happening when he's doing an Aveda. Kamayim Razal, famous Gemara that Chassidus always quotes. A Yid would not sin unless there's a spirit of foolishness that enters into him. As the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, what's the Ruach Shtus? The Ruach Shtus says, I'm still a Yid. Nothing changed. My connection to the Eibishter is not getting affected by this Aveda. If the Yid would realize that by doing this Aveda, he's disconnecting himself, so then just like a Yid is ready to die al Kiddush Hashem and not to chas v'shalom throw away his Yiddishkeit, so every Aveda is the same thing. And he doesn't realize that. That's the Ruach Shtus. The Rebbe adds another point there, and this goes even a step further, and this is something that it doesn't usually speak in Chassidus about, but it goes even more, because this is what it says regarding a person that killed somebody b'shegeg, shahar lekim ina liyadai. It's the Eibishter that orchestrated all of this. What does it mean the Eibishter orchestrated all of this? Rashi over there explains what it means. Rashi says when you kill someone b'shegeg, so what happened is this person that just died, he deserved to die. Nobody dies by accident. What do you mean? What does it mean you killed somebody by accident? What it means is that this person deserved to die for some other thing that happened. And now when you accidentally killed him, he got what he deserved. That's what the simple pshat of Elokim Ina Liyada. Everything that happens, Hashem is orchestrating. But if you hear
6,000 years ago, and it's a continuous thing.
So here the Rebbe explains this regarding every single Aveda a Yid does. When a Yid does an Aveda, it's really being orchestrated from above. As the pasuk says, Naira alila al b'nei Adam. That Naira, the Eibishter, the awesome and holy one, alila, it's like a libel. The Eibishter is orchestrating things al b'nei Adam regarding the activity and behavior of people. Alila nitlabai. This is all an alila. The Eibishter has a plan. How a person goes through life, and a person goes through ups and downs, and he fails, and then he gets up again, and then. So the emes is in the big picture of the person's life, and for sure in the big picture of history of all the generations, the Eibishter has a plan where everything is heading to. So here the Rebbe goes over. If you look, the Rebbe goes step by step. Number one, it's a shaygig. That's not your true desire. Not only it's a shaygig, it's bivli das. It's like a person lost his mind. It's like an einus. It's like you become a shaita. A shaita is a person that's not chayiv mitzvahs. Chera shaita v'katan. These are individuals that are not chayiv mitzvahs b'chlal. Not only that, holikim in iliyot. It's really the Eibush that's orchestrating all of this. So therefore, when a yid does an aveda, so yes, it's taka sheifich dama adam v'adam. The Rebbe here on one hand wants you to understand the severity of an aveda. What's happening in an aveda? What's happening by an aveda is it's every single aveda. It's no less than an act of murder. Kipshutai. You're drawing out blood and life from kedusha and bringing it into klippah. It's an act of murder. And so on one hand, we have to understand the harshness and the severity of an aveda. At the same time, though, the yid, the Eibishter says, you'll be saved. I have a city of refuge for you. Why? Because what you did is really not you. It's not the true will that you wanted. Happened by mistake. It happened. The Eibishter orchestrated it, and therefore the path of tshuva for you is right here. So what is the path of tshuva? How do we correct this? It's by a person being exiled to the city of refuge. What does that mean, beruchnis? How does a person do tshuva? Ir miklot hints to a person going into the world of Torah. So the Gemara says this in Makis when it speaks about the Ir miklot, divrei Torah kalten, that a yid that learns Torah absorbs you, Torah elevates you out of the reality of the world. The Torah will absorb a person that learns it. He will protect you. The Torah will protect you and shield you from the Goyal Adam. The Goyal Adam in the Gemara, it says when you kill somebody accidentally, so any relative is allowed to come and take revenge and kill you. But that's why you have the cities of refuge to save you, that you should not be able to be killed by the Goyal Hadam, by the one that wants to redeem and wants to take revenge for the blood that was spilled. So what happens is when a Yid does an Aveda, God forbid, he falls into the possession of Klippe and Tum and the Yetzirah. What happens is, just like it says regarding mitzvah, gereres mitzvah, you do one mitzvah, creates a connection, and that gives you the koach to yet do another mitzvah. So as v'shalom, if a Yid does an Aveda, the opposite happens. You've now empowered the Yetzirah, and now you're in his possession. He's going to try to take control over you and try to kill you completely, to try to draw out even more blood, to kill you even more. So how do you protect yourself from that? How do you protect from the downward spiral of Aveda, Gereres Aveda, and allowing the Yetzirah to come and take more blood from you? You have to go run to Torah, which means the Rebbe says, "Who the Goyal Adam, who Satan, who Yetzirah." This is the Satan and the Yetzirah. V'lo yoid. So when a person, because the Satan,
the kiss got killed from the Yitzhahara.
Correct.
So the Goyal Adam should be the relative from actually the kiss. No, that's the question.
Okay. No, the relative over here is the one that,
Clippers is best friends. It's a Hada Southern.
No. Okay, no, but he's asking who's the one that got murdered. The one that got murdered is the Nefesh Kiss. Right? I understand your question. I mean, but the point over here is that the Yitzhahara is the one that comes, and once he sees the blood was spilled, he wants more. He gets hungry. He wants to take even more. The only way to protect yourself is to go into Torah. Torah elevates a person out of the mitzias of the world. You go into the world of Torah, you're protected.
It says elsewhere that you are amazing to go to the IMA
until the Bezdin will decide. But over here, the Rebbe says, "Don't come to them." There's no mazid. There's no mazid by a yid.
Okay, I was thinking that is what I'm saying, because it's, even though you're in this gather, it's not your fault.
You still, every yid, no matter what it is, even if you did the Aveda b'mezid mamish, still considered to be a shaygig.
Just go back to this thing. The person's doing it when a yid's doing an Aveda. He is adding chayas. The person is adding chayas into Klippah.
Okay.
He's
but who? So who is it?
We're severing the connection from Kedusha to Klippah.
Okay.
Yeah.
When a yid enters into the absorption of Torah, so then this actually not only saves him from more blood being spilled, but it actually also corrects from the past. To bring back the blood and the energy that was taken out, to bring it back into the Kedusha that comes from Torah. Because what does Torah give you? Torah gives you Chayis Chadash, new life with Torah's Chayim. It's like a blood infusion. If a person had blood spilled, so how do you get a blood infusion? Beruchnias Torah. Torah is blood. The Alter Rebbe says this in Likutei Torah, actually, in Parshas Bamidbar. Not the Rebbe's Mitzayin over. Yeah, if you look in order 95, the Alter Rebbe's in Likutei Torah, Parshas Bamidbar, the Alter Rebbe says that the mitzvahs are compared to the Evarim, the limbs of a person's body. The Machivarim and the Shesagidim. So the Evarim, each Aver has a particular function. The function of the hand and the function of the feet and the function of the other limbs are not the same. Every mitzvah is a particular function. What's with the dam? The dam Adam flows through the entire body. It's the same blood that flows through everything. That's Torah. Torah is Hecha from Welt. You could learn about mitzvah sukkah in the middle of the summer, and you can learn about mitzvah Chanukah in the middle of the summer, even though it's not the time period for it, because in the world of Torah, there's no space and time. In the world of Torah, you're in a different world. You're together with the Eibishter. It's the nice and the Torah, the Eibishter's Chochmah, and it doesn't have to relate to the time and place that you're in. That's why most of the subjects that we learn in Torah are not necessarily relevant. It's out of the world. You're in the world of Torah. So when you learn Torah, you're plugging in, you're connecting. It's mamish like a ruchni is the blood transfusion to give you blood for the blood that was lost in the Aveda that was done. That's the Chiddush of Yemaisa Moshiach. That the Rebbe will explain, and we'll see that Mr. Shem will see the continuation next week. Okay, so some Geschmack Haaretz, maybe we'll learn it next week also.